All right. Well, good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to hang out with us and have a critical conversation about the AI shift, essentially orchestrating work and activating voice and doing everything we can to win the customer moment. And you may have seen the title of this and said, "Oh, great, another conversation on AI." But I promise you, with this crew, there's going to be a really interesting and spicy conversation. So with that, let me introduce our panelists for today. I'm joined by Tara Kelly from SPLICE Software, from Bobby Srivastas from Solvrays, and myself, I'm Miguel Edwards from FiveM, and we're going to really dive deep into the why now is the moment. Why, what is keeping us back, and how can we really drive some impact? And to kick us off, folks, and again, welcome Bobby and Tara. To kick us off, I want to just frame this as, this kind of this inflection point, because we've been in the industry and business long enough to have been through the digital transformations and the cloud transformations and the data revolution and all things that had a whole lot of trouble sticking. And so is AI that again? And the question and the answer to that is no, because we are seeing unprecedented adoption across all industries. And the question that I have for that is, well, what drives that difference? Like, why is it different now? Why is this moment so different? And why is that impetus so strong? And I think, some of our prior conversations, we've uncovered that it's because AI started from the ground up. It started from the customer up, right? This wasn't corporate come with some great idea of, hey, digital is cool, cloud is cool, everybody should be down. This was the consumer got it first. So now we've got our customers and our employees who are adopting things faster than we can from a corporate and an enterprise perspective, all demanding it now. So with that said, what do? We can't wait any longer, right? And the companies that are figuring that out are flying right by those that are not. So let me kick it over to you first, Tara, and you kind of offer a little bit of perspective on the sense of urgency that we've all got to feel and where to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see the sense of urgency showing up just from the number of options being offered to people. And so it's not enough that you're hearing about it from, AWS and Azure and Google Cloud or whoever you're cloud hosting, but it's also your consultants. You're hearing about it from Accenture, you're hearing about it from Deloitte. Your own tech team is telling you, your development team, we can build this. And then any given week, and I'd ask the people, really look at your inbox. How many vendors are emailing you every week and asking you, hey, what can I do for you? And so I think you're seeing this unbelievable urgency, not just from the consumer, not just from the market, but everybody's coming at you. And I think that's kind of been the double-edged sword, because at the end of the day, it's about practical ROI. And I mean, I think we'll look at some of these numbers, but 87% growth over last year in AI adoption. But then if you ask people, they're saying we're getting less than a 10% lift or difference or impact. So something's crazy there. And I think the thing that I would say, driving urgency is everywhere you turn, the next guy's trying to tell you, we've got it included, it's already here, let's go. And I think it makes it very challenging, and it really does drive the urgency, though. It's clearly happening.
So it's fascinating, Tara. I was in Sam's Club the other day and looking at electronic toothbrushes, and it said AI built in. I said to myself, that's kind of interesting. It's included. It's embedded in everything. I got to read more on what my AI toothbrush is going to do. But Bobby, Tara hit something kind of interesting where I think, she was really touching on measurement. And I think with a lot of new technologies, where we struggle is we end up with like this hammer. It's an AI hammer, it's a cloud hammer, it's a customer experience hammer. We're looking at all over the company trying to find those nails to hit, but we don't really spend enough time perhaps thinking about the measurement and the business problem we're trying to solve. What's your perspective on that?
I think when we go, we see this so many times, right? Where there used to be a saying, are you a vitamin or are you a painkiller? And that kind of sticks, right? Like, if you think about it, when you go into an organization, there is that land of dreams. But the key is, this is where it's a partnership from a vendor or partner perspective with their clients. What are your outcomes that you want to derive? And not everything is a now problem to be solved, and not everything is an AI problem to be solved. And I think that's the piece that we're working, when we work with carriers, we work with them on, let's build out a roadmap first. And when I say that, it's not hey, let's wait, let's build out a 5-year plan, and then year 3 we're still talking about the plan. We're not talking about that. We're talking about how do we really quickly do that low-hanging fruit to drive business outcomes, and then build out a roadmap. To Tara's point, with this whole AI noise that we're seeing in the industry, it's a matter of who's your partner and what are they specialized in, because it's you can't Claude code your way into enterprise tech.
I've tried. No, you're exactly right. And so I guess, Tara, let me kick it back to you, taking a little bit about what Bobby talked about, this kind of dynamic tension between, wanting to make sure that we're applying this technology, this innovation to the right places, but not suffering from that typical paralysis analysis, and focusing on that low hanging fruit that's measurable. What kind of approaches have you seen effective in that space?
I think that one of the first things you really do actually have to look at, and we saw that, with the recent IBM acquisition, we're seeing it all over the place, but data is messy. And I think that there's some hard truths that we all still know about. There's amalgamations of multiple systems. You're not walking into a single core system in a single brand new cloud stack. And if you are, congratulations, you better move real fast because you got the advantage. But data is messy and systems often don't talk. And so I think compliance can really block everything. And I think those are a lot of the gotchas that are stopping people. And, you can make a agentic workflow do something, you can get GPT level modes, and you can make that happen. But ultimately these legacy policy systems and claims workflows are creating challenges for people. And I think that at the end of the day, you want to really determine, where is that ROI ownership? What is a statement? And I really do come back to this. What's a report that you're already creating today that could be better, right? What is a measurable? What is that? And don't look for some new report, some new workflow, some new everything. Pick something and just have a win, have that first win. And I think that does also speak to, though, this 10%. Right, where people are saying, okay, we've got these 10% wins. And when we look at the ability to use AI in the workplace, we need to really rethink it. And I think that is the other piece that I think you really have to decide where culturally you are as far as change management, and decide if you can do something bolder. Because if you look at what Ford did, and when they brought it to the factories, they didn't say, it wasn't a moment where they just said, oh, we've got electricity, we're just going to, change our belt drives, we're going to do nothing to change the floor. Everything's going to flow the exact same way. And I think that you saw a difference because they reformatted the entire assembly line. They went from days and days and days to, months to build a car to 90 days. And I think that is not a 10% shift, right? That is what we're looking for. But you have to get past those first few wins. And so pick something you know how to measure first. Pick something where you understand what the data should look like, where you can see it, right? Pick something that's accessible to have that first positive experience. But you would be crazy if you stopped there, because that is not what this transition is about. It is about really, truly rethinking how we do things. And what becomes our role in this, I genuinely believe, is that we need to be the creative and we need to be the critic. We need to be really refined in what is it to deliver insurance product? What is the problem we're solving in our specific job role? So let's pick those easy wins, but please don't get stuck in that 10%. And I think when we talk with folks, that's where you see that frustration of like, oh, I have AI in my core system, whether it's, Sapiens, Majesco, Guidewire, you name it, it doesn't matter, Duck Creek, whoever it is, they all have agentic something in their workflows. It's there. All of your developers know how to use this. They're looking at it. But what does that mean? Are they using it the same way? We looked at electricity and said, I'm not going to do anything to format. You have to see this evolution and revolution for what it really is.
I love that. You've put 3 topics out there that I think are going to be challenging for us to address in the time that we have left, but let's give it our shot here. And Bobby, I'm going to throw the 3 topics that I heard Tara throw out there. I'm going to throw those at you and ask you to take your pick because they're all meaty in their own right. I heard the notion of paving the cow path and having this technology that we try to bring to bear and implement without thinking about the overall flow and what the overall impact, that basic change management question, what is the overall impact to the organization with this technology? And I might marry to that. Are we really focused on the customer and their experience, or are we focused too internally? So that's topic 1. So let's see about that. The other one is the boogeyman that comes every 10 years or so when there's a new innovation. That data boogeyman comes back and says, you know what, all of this organization that you should have been doing, you haven't been, and now you're going to pay the price. And how do we solve for that? How do we get organizations to think about data strategy as foundational to being able to take advantage of these new tools? And by the way, does AI bridge that gap for us even in and of itself, which is kind of fascinating. And then the final one is the last boogeyman, compliance. And there's all of this regulatory development that's on the scenes. I know that Florida just passed a bill through their House, hasn't gone through their Senate yet, that is requiring insurance companies in Florida to have extreme documentation on how AI is being leveraged in their organization, specifically as it relates to things like underwriting and claims adjudication, specifically on claims adjudication. So what do we need to be thinking about there? So 3 topics. Pick one, Bobby. Let's see where you go.
Let's pick the compliance one. Why not? I will tell you how compliance is meant for organizations. It's like a guardrail. It's a framework, right? The key here is that how we are able to, and like this is my positioning on this. Not everything is an AI problem. Right now, if you go to any conference, and we're in conference season right now, everything is being made and into an AI problem. I think that's issue number 1. So another piece is extensive documentation. I think this is where platforms that understand insurance, right, like that have lived in the messy middle with leaders, are helping innovate. We get that when you build something, it has to have full audit frameworks, execution logs, and knowing when to start and stop, because it's no longer what we could do with the technology. It's the question is, what should we be doing, right? So that's the piece that when we look at compliance, how do we make them happy? On our side, we're pretty fortunate because our solution lives within a carrier's environment. We make it very easy. It's deployed within their infrastructure, their firewall. So compliance loves us, right? But now it becomes decisioning. And this is where we have a pretty strong stance, is not could, should, is how do we put the human in the loop where it makes sense? The key is you have to live with the regulation and the compliance. You're not going to be rogue. Because the last thing a vendor needs or a carrier needs is a ton of lawsuits, right?
Sure.
So the key is how do we play in that sandbox, but have the architecture to allow it to turn on the faucet when regulation and compliance catch up to that, and actually advocate for that. But hey, automation and applying AI to true problems doesn't mean autonomous and fully underwritten claims adjudication or underwritten. That there's some borderline there.
Sure. Makes good sense. Awesome. Tara, you've got data and you've got CalPath. Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to go CalPath on this one. And I really think that as we book out those strategies and we're looking for those wins, we can't just keep following that same methodology. And I agree with Bobby. I think the compliance and well-documented is the tool that you need in your backpack, but don't let the tool become the cow path, right? Don't allow, that's how we did it, that's how we have to do it again. I think this is the coolest time, and you went there and I loved it. Customer experience is everything. AI is not reducing the amount of human to customer experience. It's actually driving more communication. We are able to be more informed, more in the loop, but more connected than we ever were before. We just need to be that intelligent. And I think the question becomes, you get to passionately decide, why am I doing this? What is my purpose? What is the objective of this exercise? Because sometimes we did an activity because we had to. There was some part of underwriting. There was some part of claims adjudication, and when the adjuster got involved and why we had that notification that genuinely could become irrelevant. This has become irrelevant. And I think we can't assume that because we documented a process and we have policies and all of this is the only way. I think understanding the difference of your legal grounds, your contract, your commitments, your master service agreements, your privacy data policy is very different than understanding your procedures, right? And understanding how those two work together. And so I think really getting passionate about what are you trying to achieve, and giving yourself permission to just jump off of that cow path. You might be swinging through the trees on this one. And I think the thing that I really want to really embody today is that having the ability to connect the communication layer with all of those stakeholders with true back-end orchestration, where you're able to decide the data doesn't have to go there because it always did. The data doesn't have to go through 6 more stops because it always did. The data needs to serve the purpose that you're trying to achieve. And so by having these fantastic tools, you can actually build something very different that outperforms at magnitude. You're not doing this evolution for 10%. Nobody should be bringing AI. Do not do the lift. If your goal is a 10% incremental lift, don't do it. That is not the goal. That is not the transformation we're seeing, and you're going to be outpaced. And so I think we've got to really think about that well-trodden path in a very different way. Why were we on the path? Where were we going? Not what does this path look like?
And I think, Tara, to your point, when it comes to compliance and really marrying what you're talking about, it's about frameworks and guardrails. It's not about, hey, I needed to do 3 things and it needs to be done the same way. It is, we always talk about the art of the possible. We have to start living that as partners to our industry. But the key is, when there's time, when auditors come in, how can you quickly show them, hey, we've got guardrails in place. This is not black box activity. We can prove it out, right? That's the power of having strong compliance that's built in to your AI framework, that will allow carriers to move exactly what you're talking about.
That AI framework, I think, is a big thing you've really hit on, Bobby. It's the necessary piece, because the really wonderful thing of this AI evolution is actually better data storage, more consistency, immediate access. And so when your auditors do come in, and they will come in and plan for that, is you've got it all there and ready. And so really being clear that you have that understanding of what's happening, never letting it become the black box, but making sure that you don't have the cart driving the horse. The horse is the business that you're in, right? The horse is how we get this done, and I think the cart is the one you're sitting in, the experience they're working through. And so really making sure we have that relationship correct. It's not can I add a new tool? We all know that guy or girl with the garage, with the great floor and it's shiny and they got all the tools, but do they actually build something more beautiful? Is that a different feature wall? Is that a way better deck? What's different about their kid's treehouse, right? You got to really look at this, and I think it's what you're doing, what you're envisioning, and we're in a really cool time that there's that opportunity, and if you can get your policy in the right place and the guardrails, you have the ability to have access brilliantly, consistently every time. And I think getting that cohesive voice, I do loop back to my first comment. There is a real challenge. Every single provider is telling you, I've got your answer and I've got your AI. And you really do have to know, what is the business I'm in and how do they connect? It's crazy. It's crazy how many, from your toothbrush apparently, right? All the way to what cloud you're hosted in, but all the way through.
Yep.
I'm
All
excited
great.
about that toothbrush, Miguel. Now I'm thinking, can it like see mine? I'm just kidding.
I'm tempted to buy it, but I'm also too embarrassed by say I don't want to be that guy who spent like, another like $75 more than he should have because it says AI on it, right? It's just like, But you guys left data, and because data is a huge passion of mine, I don't want to leave it unaddressed. And so I'm going to spend just 30 seconds. And Tara, you talked about now being the time. I am super excited with this AI revolution because what it is doing is it is shining a bright light on that need for data organization, brighter than any other light has ever been shown. I've got folks that are reaching out saying, "Hey, we want to do agentic work in our call centers and our contact centers and for automated email responses." And I said, "Yeah, okay. Well, where are we going to get the policy data from? Oh, well, here are the 16 admin systems. Okay, well, that might be a little bit of a challenge." And so I feel like this is doing all of the hard work that I've spent the past 20 years of my life trying to communicate. These are the opportunities that you don't get to avail yourself of if you don't have your data house in order. And then married to that, what I'm seeing is lots of really interesting approaches now to data modeling that leverage AI. And so I am really, really excited about where this goes. And that's a big problem to solve, and probably a bigger problem than a lot of folks are ready to get at right now. So let me close us out with a real quick lightning round here, 60 seconds or less. If someone in our audience right now is listening and they're saying, where do I start? Like, how can I just like get something going and start experimenting with this movement? What's your advice for that person that's just looking for the starting point? Bobby, let me start with you.
I would say exactly the piece that you talked about. Email box automation is our number one use case. It is so looked, right? Because people don't think most carriers are still having inboxes. Majority of them have not automated that. That's our veg, right? Because we're an orchestration engine. We can connect to that, and we can connect to your 16 other systems in a very unique way. That, to me, the thing is that the point solutions that only do email box automation are going to die. You have to have that as one of your capabilities, and you have to do more, right? The world of point solutions, in my opinion, we're going to see reduction, but it's going to get more specialized. I specialize in back office operations. Somebody specializes in communication. Somebody specializes in distribution. We have to choose what we know. But yeah, I would say email box automation. I hope that was 60 seconds. I like to talk.
It was good, Bobby. Thank you. Tara, take us home.
So yeah, we're customer engagement. And I would say my answer is FNOL. There's just still a lot of opportunity there. You have the ability to offer a full, voice interactive AI-driven FNOL straight in, captured cleanly, given to the agentic workflow in the back, and it is pushed through. I think that is closely tied to actually supporting sales. The ability to ask about new products, parabolic insurance, some of the really cool different products around catastrophic events. There's a lot out there, and it's not well understood. AI can understand it very fast and get through the Q&A. And it's whether it's a chat, a voice, meet the customer where they are. So my message is to meet the customer where they are with a fully intelligent AI workflow that brings that data through.
I love it. I love it. And my vote would be for document ingestion, right? Especially if you're in a commercial space and you've got statement of values and loss runs that are coming in. There are so many really simple yet elegant ways to bring that documentation in and allow your underwriters to do what they're paid to do, which is underwrite and not do data entry and administration of lots of different artifacts. Guys, this has been an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you for taking the time out and having this provocative talk about AI. And I also want to thank our audience for spending some time with us. This has been great. And we look forward to continuing this conversation. So Bobby from Solvrays and Tara from SPLICE, again, thank you so much for your time and for all of your thought leadership in the industry.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll see you on the conference roadshow. It's conference time, guys.
It's coming. All right. Take
Cheers.
care. Bye-bye now.